I would like to uh, tell you one thing. Like we have got list of speaker for those who are going to speak, and we have got very limited time. So I'll request every speaker to please take 2-3 minutes uh, to talk regarding that. Now, we'd like to invite next speaker, Dr. Raj Mohammed, Assistant Professor, Department of History, uh, Government Degree and PG College from Anantapuram.
Thank you, madam. Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Respected Professor Rekha Pande, madam, and today's guest of honor, Professor Geraldine Pope, and my teacher, Dr. M.N. Rajesh, sir. So, very good evening, all. So, M.N. Rajesh, sir, and Professor Rekha, madam, both are my teachers at University of Hyderabad. So, they taught me at MA, MPhil, and PhD courses. Though I am a student of Professor Atluri Murali, so I took many sessions from Professor Rekha madam. So during my submission of PhD, so she was the head of the department, and I am very much thankful to Professor Rekha madam for extending her cooperation throughout my research. And today my words are not enough to express the gratitude because she is a very good mentor and great role model, and she is opening my eyes to new stages of opportunity and strength. Really, Professor Rekha Madam is, we know very well, she is a very good academician, and she has written so many books and articles in various national and international journals. Apart from that, she is a great human being and hard worker, a brave and inspirer. So there is a power that uh, a teacher is always inspired. This proverb is applicable to Professor Rekha Madam. 100% she is suitable for that principle. So I also observed great quality in Rekha Madam that he is always busy with many works and always interacted with the students. So whenever we talk to the madam, she is looking with a smiley face and affectionate words. So we treat her like a mother. So I further grateful for your support, and I have been fortunate to have a great teacher in my life. Madam has given an opportunity to contribute in her books. So earlier I contributed one article that is was published in Gender and History, and this is my second article which was published recently, Trends in History. So honor to Madam. So this is a really great opportunity for me. And my topic regarding in this book is the health propaganda methods, the role of voluntary associations in British India. So which is based on totally archival source material. So it's talk about so during the late 19th and 20th century, so we are facing a lot of problems with epidemics. Like now we are facing the COVID-19 pandemic. So this situation was there in the late 19th and beginning of the 20th century. So during that period, plague and cholera and other epidemics are there. So how the Britishers are reacted and what are the major health propaganda methods are introduced and how the voluntary associations played a major role in these diseases discussion in this article. And finally, I would like to thank to Dr. M.N. Rajesh sir and Rizwan Ahmad and Prabhu Balasubramaniam and Jivanandam for bringing this wonderful value. So I thank to Jiva, really he's a always cooperated and he's updated everything and the entire process. So I would like to thank Professor Geraldine Probst madam and Seema Srivastava and Dr. M.N. Rajesh sir for being a part of this wonderful program. So thanks for giving this wonderful opportunity. Thank you, one and all. Thank you, madam.
Thank you, Dr. Rajan. Now, quickly, I'll announce the next speaker, Dr. P.S. Horis, Assistant Professor, Department of Medieval and Modern History, University of Allahabad. Dr.
Yeah,
P.S. Harris, please.
yeah. Thank you, Miss Anjana. Um,
Thank you.
yeah, I think I've been the like student of Rekha ma'am uh, from the year 2000. I mean, like it was a millennium batch
బయటికి
when I
వెళ్ళినానన్నా
joined the
మాట్లాడేసిన
masters, and later on I pursued full PhD
ఏదో ఒకటి మొత్తానికి అయితే అయిపోయి ఉన్నాం కదా.
under her supervision. So I think uh, ma'am, Professor Rekha Pande ma'am, she has been a constant source of inspiration and a dedicated scholar. And I would say that ma'am uh, has taught us the basics of research, how to pursue, the research collection of sources, writing of even footnotes and even end notes or even bibliography. I still remember, ma'am, you took me to Salarjung Museum in the year 2003, and we went together, and I was introduced to Dr. Soma Ghosh, ma'am, there in library. And then I should say that when I was first pursuing my MPhil research, that I learned the basics of research under ma'am's supervision, guidance, and utmost care. And her motherly affection, uh, is the one which really, made us to work hard. I mean, even to this day, even after, I have completed my research and now I'm a faculty here, but still, I think teaching is one profession where we always remain as students. I think all of you in the, in the present meeting agree with me with regard to this point, that though we are teachers now, but still we are students. And Rekha ma'am will be always your students. We'll be always taking your guidance, and I think you'll be always, guiding us, telling us, how to do research, and or in the sense like making us to progress further in the academic field. And I think today we all have assembled in order to honor our teacher. And I think this is really a very good effort brought in by Jivanandam, Dr. Jivanandam, and uh, Prabhu. And thank you very much, Rajesh sir. Even in fact, Rajesh sir also had been my teacher in my MA days. And he, I mean, sir also had helped us a lot in pursuing our research, and all the other activities or academic activities on the campus, in the department, and on the campus also. So thank you, sir. And I thank Divanandam and all the other editors who had really worked on in bringing out this recent book of history. And my article in that is Weapons, Technology, and European Influence in Medieval South Indian Warfare, dealing on the 17th and 18th centuries. And finally, I would end by saying that I think this is uh, a, a, a kind of this volume is brought out as a result of the love and affection that we have on our ma'am, and it's a kind of sense of gratitude that we are showing by bringing out this fantastic and a very enlightening volume. So thank you very much, all of you, for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Harris, for your remarks. I have already told like we have very limited time and we are like eagerly waiting to talk from Professor Rekha ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So
Yeah.
again, I'm telling like speaker, please maintain a time limit. Now I will hurriedly call the next speaker, that is Urvi Jha Priyadarshini, research scholar, Department of History, University of Hyderabad.
Good evening.
Urvi Jha, yeah,
Yeah.
Priyadarshini.
Am I audible?
Thank you. Yes, yes, you're audible. Please.
Yeah, thank you so much. I feel really fortunate to be here. I think I am one of the latest PhDs under Dr. Rekha ma'am. So it's all very fresh in my mind as to how her guidance and support has been continuous in that sense. So I would just like to briefly kind of talk about my association with ma'am, which started in the year 2012. She was on my interview panel for the PhD admissions, and we both were very excited because my initial proposal was on women in bhakti, and as all of us know that that's an issue that ma'am has kind of voraciously studied and written about. And since my proposed study was in the realm of religion and culture, I got an opportunity to work under ma'am's guidance. Soon in my PhD journey, I felt that the inquiry around women and bhakti was kind of saturated field, and I wanted to kind of change that and initiate a study on widows of Vrindavan. And fortunately for me, that was also an issue. Women's aging in India is also an issue that ma'am is very, very passionate about. So she kind of gladly accepted that. She allowed me to kind of take up that topic for inquiry, and it was a collaborative journey that we kind of embarked upon from there. Um, now, what I remember from my journey is that ma'am was very, very encouraging without really being pushy, and she was always eager to help her students in whatever kind of obstacles that we faced during our PhD journeys. She was kind of always eager to help out any kind of discomfort that we would be facing at any point in time, be it personal or be it administrative in nature. One thing that I very, very fondly remember about her is that I've often heard from her. She says that I have a weakness for my students, and I have literally seen that, that she's ready to help you out. She's just out there. I've also seen that and I'm sure that this resonates with everybody, that she has always wanted the best for all of us, and she wants to kind of see us well settled in the academia, you know. And I remember that she would gently nudge me to complete my chapters and complete my publications so that not only me, but each of her students would be able to finish in a timely manner. And despite me deregistering from the course when I was ready to submit, I remember that, ma'am literally did the hand holding for me throughout the submission procedure and on the paperwork. I remember that I would call her at very odd hours for her signature, and she would always be very welcoming. She would just be like, you just come, whatever you need, you can just, take and go. I don't remember a single instance where ma'am had refused. So today I take the opportunity to sincerely thank Professor Rekha Pande for her guidance and for keeping me in her thoughts. Like recently, the Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University
Hello?
started a
Yes,
project
sir.
on gender sensitization, and Professor Pandey has suggested my name to be a moderator for the online sessions in that course. And she has also encouraged me to write for one of the ongoing government projects and produce like an e-module on women's studies. And a lot of times I have felt that, ma'am has more faith in my capabilities than I have ever had. So I really thank her for that. Talking about my paper, which is on Sati, remarried and celibate, a brief history of widowhood in India. It emanates from a larger inquiry, which I kind of addressed in my thesis. I wanted to understand what knowledge and discourse is there around the Hindu upper caste widows in India. And I wanted to undertake this because the weight of the imagined past, it also impinges on the women's present lives. So I wanted to study what was the history of widows so that I could relate that to the current socioeconomic situation of widows in Vrindavan. And I talk about the four recourses of widowhood, which is sati, nyoga, celibacy, and remarriage. And I argue that, these were never a choice for the widows at different junctures in history, and it was rather the politics of that particular moment in history that decided what will happen to the widow. And I think in this context, when Spivak says that, can the subaltern speak? That question becomes very, very pertinent. And that was the direction in which I undertook my doctoral research under the able guidance of Professor Rekha Pande ma'am. So I would like to congratulate her today and everybody else present for this beautiful commemoration, which ma'am rightly and truly deserves. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Priyadarshini. I think she is the last speaker we have in this session. Now, I would like to directly move forward, and I would like to give this speaker to Professor Rekha Pande, ma'am. I think I no need to introduce her because everyone know who is she except me as well, because I'm a new student. I'm working on Dr. Jivanand, and I'm a PhD scholar. So those who are new in this platform, let me introduce her as like Professor Rekha Pande is the professor of Emirates Henry Martin Institute and former head Department of History and Center for Women Studies of University of Hyderabad. Now I would like to welcome Professor Rekha Pande ma'am for a remarks note. Over to you, ma'am.
Ma'am, your voice is not audible.
Thank you very much, Anjana. This is a
Thank you
very
so much, ma'am.
emotional moment for me, and I wish I would listen to the students continue to talk. Just as for a mother, a child will always be a child, however grown up they are. I think all the students today, all of you are settled, you have jobs, you are in different universities, colleges, but to me, and all of you are married with children, and so time has really passed. But I think to me you will continue to be students. Now I have a association with your children, and meet them whenever I see. So it's always a pleasure meeting your students. And it has really moved me that all of you could really come up with this. It was not even there in my dreams. And I am very touched because I really didn't know that I could have so much of an impact. I think we also learn a lot from students in our journey, and it has been wonderful being associated. I can see so many of my students connecting today. I can see Atusa from Iran, and Sankar San Malik, and so many other students who are here. And indeed, it's a very emotional moment. Now, when I looked at this volume, I didn't get a copy of this volume, but when I look at it, what I see is that all the students who have, faculty and students who have contributed, you have divided these into, different sections. And it is. You are talking about 19th and 20th century, 17th and 18th century. There is a section on women's history, and also on society, religion, polity, and culture. And I feel very happy that I have been associated with these areas. Most of my students have worked on it. Something which I could really not understand is when I joined the Department of History, we had such strict periodization. And around 1995, I had a student who understood Telugu, and every day he would bring me a small cutting in a newspaper, where women went and they did a dharna, they went on a protest march, they destroyed packets of liquor. And he would say, ma'am, see how these women in rural areas are acting. And I started collecting the different tidbits which he would bring me. And then I applied for a project. I got a big project to cover the Arak movement. But what was interesting was, this boy had finished his MA. He wanted to join, he joined his PhD, he got a seat in PhD, and he said he wants to work on the Arak movement. And there is a big discussion in the department, And some of my colleagues say, if he is so interested, let him work on drinking habits of the people in 12th and 13th century. Because, history is so divided. And they said, no, your specialization is medieval. You can't guide a person. And we never had anything like women's studies at that time. And it was, I just could not understand it, that why can't we move beyond our period? Why are these periods like a albatross around our neck that we can't do away with? And finally this boy got so fed up, he went and joined his PhD in an Australian university, and he kept in touch with me, but he could not work, and for a long time I think our periodizations were so strict. And I was always interested in women's studies. Issues of contemporary world always interested me. And yes, history is our subject, and my specialization is medieval, but that does not stop me from working, looking at gender questions in the earlier period. Because when we look at these kinds of issues, when I talk of women's history, I cannot just limit myself saying that this is medieval India. See, that I have to understand what is happening in the ancient period and what is happening in the modern period. And that is something which, I could really do a lot with many of my students. And I should really thank you all, because this was, especially when we had women's studies, we opened women's studies, lot of students joined, and we could really work on contemporary issues. And I was no longer confined to only medieval. Geraldine, really, I'm very thankful to Geraldine. I know she has a big personal issue at home, and her husband is not keeping well. But in spite of that, she is present here. And she spoke such highly that I'm really moved. I really don't know whether I'm worth it. But let me tell Geraldine and my students, I came from Allahabad University, where now Harish is working. Again, in those days, I'm talking about 1976, 77. There was no kind of socio-economic history at that time. All our history was only political history. It was only North Indian history. And at that time, we only worked on political topics. So I also started my career with looking at succession in the Delhi Sultanate, looking at Aram Shah succession, Razia, looking at pressure groups, etc. And this was something which was very strictly followed over there. But something very important which we learned at Allahabad was they were very particular about sources. Our study of sources was so thorough. We would have 100 marks, exam only on the sources. There was a paper only on the sources. And it was something like reference to context, which you do in, as in English literature, we have all done it. They would give us 2 lines from any source. We had to, expand and write where was this quoted, from which book it is, what was the incident that it was there. But then when I, came to Hyderabad, and even getting into the university was very difficult. I kept, I attended so many interviews, and I would see that, I was not, though I was a very good student of my university, I could not answer any question. Because at Allahabad, our whole history was only the Indo-Gangetic Plain history. We were not taught anything about the South. Some little, hardly there was one chapter on Vijayanagar Empire, but it was not given importance. And it was only the Indo-Gangetic Plain that we were studying. So, when I joined the university, then I started reading, even for my interviews, I started reading the history of Deccan, of South India. And I became interested in looking at a lot of these religious reform movements, looking at Vaishnavism, looking at Vaishnavism, looking at, definitely Bhakti was always there. And this, it also, religion took me into looking at temples, looking at land grants, looking at the temple economy, and, the kinds of different activities which temples were doing. And we never had anything like women's history. And this was something which was always there, because one kept asking that why is it that women are absent from history? Why is it that women have no history? We think just because we are talking of, Gargi, Maitri in ancient period, we talk of Razia, Lakshmi Bai, and again, modern period, you just have one or two women. We think that is women's history. But then, uh, it was, I was never allowed to, I mean, I could never offer courses in my university on women's history. But then in 2005, I took a sabbatical. I went to Maulana Azad, the Urdu University, set up their Center for Women's Studies. Meanwhile, when I finished my term in 2007, the University of Hyderabad also established a Center for Women's Studies. And therefore, I was able to, by this time, I could get start teaching, guiding a lot of students in history. And I'm also thankful to my friend Kamishi. I can see Padma has to take a flight from US back, but she is here. And this afternoon she's telling me Padma was my first student on women's history. And it was a very scary moment, not only for you, Padma, for me also as a teacher, because we didn't know this. When did you finish your PhD? I don't remember. Okay, she's on mute. Anyway, so
No, please. Ma'am, you have to unmute yourself.
Padma ma'am.
Yeah, 1997. 1997, ma'am.
So you can very well imagine it must be
Yeah.
something in 94, 95. We had
Yes,
nothing
ma'am.
like women's history. And,
Right.
I and Kameshi would share a room. And Padma worked on a religion, she looked at Vaishnavism
So,
in her MPhil. And then when she came, she said, ma'am, I don't think I would like to continue with this on my PhD because it is very philosophical, it is very tough. And then Kameshi said, why don't you work on women? And, this was something which was looking at women. I think that was the first thesis. It was as much a time for me to learn from Padma, the kind of source she collected. And after that, we had so many students who worked on these different disciplines. So one thing, which I have always believed, and I would really like to pass this on to my students is, we should, as historians, when we are looking at the past, strict periodization will not lead us anywhere. You should be thorough with your sources. I'm very happy to say that many of my students who did PhD in women's studies, all of us know that getting a seat is not that easy now. PhD scenario has become very difficult. But the students like Jiva, who have worked on women's studies with me, but their, theses were so strong. They looked at sources in so much detail that, they were given jobs in the history department. So this is something which I insist, that if you are thorough with your sources, and these are issues which we can spread. You cannot just limit yourself to a particular period, because when we talk of certain changes, when we talk of certain, like when we talk of women, when we talk of religion, when we look at certain change, it's not confined to a political period. Unfortunately, that's how we look at history, and we say this is ancient, this is medieval, this is modern. And many people really do not want to move out of that. Another thing, like today we are talking of a globalized world. Knowledge is becoming, it crosses all these boundaries. It has to be interdisciplinary. And there is so much of material which is available. So this is something which we should all remember, and we have to be interdisciplinary in our approach. Because when we talk of only a historical method, it has its own limitations. When you're looking at women's history, when you're looking at a religious movement, the kind of sources which are available, because after all, what are the archives? These are by men, written about men, important people, kings, etc. They will not answer many of the questions that you have. So we really need to move beyond the kind of methodologies which we follow. We need to really move beyond the strict historical method. You can use methods from anthropology, sociology, you can use methods from women's studies. And this is something which I would really encourage my students to do that. I would be more, I don't think I would continue to speak, because I'm more interested in listening to my students. I can see so many of you together. It has given me so much joy and pleasure to see you all together. And indeed, I'm very much moved with the kind of, whatever, the efforts which have been taken. Jiva was a student in MA. I still remember I had submitted an article to a book, it was published by Cambridge University Press. And I, at that time, Jiva had just joined, and I wanted certain details because there were certain things which were missing in that article, and they had asked me to complete it. But I was in UK at that time. So as usual, I sent a mail to Jiva and I asked him, can you collect this? And I thought, oh, MA students, I mean, they will not pay much attention, and I was looking in London where I can find this material. But I was really surprised that within a week, Jiva came up with all those details and he gave it to me. And he became so much interested that he said, ma'am, I want to work on the Devdasis. And I also learnt a lot. He looked at a lot of Tamil inscriptions in that period. So, with each student, I have so many experiences, so many different occasions that this is indeed a very emotional moment for me, and I'm really touched and moved. I can see so many of you here and being present. So once again, thanks a lot. I can see Pavitra. There are two students with whom, they have still not submitted. One is Pavitra and the other is Kishore. Kishore was working on such a wonderful theme, and I keep telling him that he's become so busy. And I hope you will submit, and I think you owe it to the knowledge system that whatever you're working is so important that it should really reach a conclusion. It doesn't matter now. You can work, I am retired, you can work with any other teacher, but please see to it that you complete your work. All the other students have been able to complete, and all of you are so well settled. I think as a teacher, I feel very proud, and I say 14 of my students are in different universities in the country. Padma has established herself as a gender specialist. She's doing so well. All my students, Raja, my first student, is a professor in Annamalai University. So when I look at all my students, I realize that I have become prehistory now, and so much water has flown down the Musi River. But really a very touching moment for me. I am really very much thankful to all my students, especially Jiva for taking all the efforts. Prabhu, Rajesh has always been a very good colleague. Even my children used to tell me that for a long time they never thought that Rajesh was my colleague. They thought Rajesh was also my student because the way we would interact and all. I've had a wonderful relationship with Rajesh, and I'm so happy at looking at all these students who are so well settled, doing well, and I really wish you all very best. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Professor Rekha Pande, ma'am. Now we have come to close
Anjana,
of
1 minute.
today's program. Yes, sir.
Anjana, 1 minute. No, actually,
Yes.
two more speakers, they wanted to speak actually. One is Pavitra and Prabhu. Prabhu is also one of the editor. So now I'm requesting Pavitra to speak for a few minutes, Pavitra, please.
A very good evening, ma'am. I know the journey that I've been working with you since I joined PhD was very struggling one. But for me, what I like, I'm being very emotional now, right now. For me, like you were a mother to me, as well as the topic that I've chosen was very, like, that is very dear to me. So the only professor that was working on anti-Arab movement was you. So uh, the process of getting a guide was also a very troublesome situation to me when I entered XU, being Like as I came from a very small state where Jivanand is a professor now, Sikkim. So, like looking into your works on anti-Arab movement, I was so moved that like I could find someone who's really interested in like looking into such areas. So that was how I was introduced to you. And the very first day, like when I got my MPhil in HU, like the first thing you spoke to me was like, "Are you from Uttarakhand?" Because I did my MA from Garhwal University. So I told you, ma'am, I'm from hilly area only, but I'm not from Uttarakhand. So like you are so happy to see people like us coming from small state, at least sitting in the competition with the top most or top reputed universities. So now actually it's all because of you that you gave me an opportunity to at least work in a university wherein I'm working in ICFI. That is a private university though, but like your helpful nature has really not only motivated me, but nowadays even students like where I meet nowadays in the university, I always like take inspiration from you, man. I am, and I definitely have no words. Like the way you have helped me personally, either professionally, and your ears were everywhere all the time. Like the moment you reached Sikkim, also like you always listen patiently to my field work. Like you're so happy listening to all the works that I've done so far. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much. Like I have never thought like I would get a
Thank you,
professor like
Pavitra.
you. So thank
Okay.
you, ma'am.
Thank you, Pavitra.
Thank you,
And now
Jivan.
I'm requesting Pavitra Molugu to speak. Pavitra. Pavitra?
Pavitra, can
Yeah.
you hear us?
Unmute yourself.
Pavitra, just unmute yourself and speak.
Good evening, one and all. It's a privilege for me to be here. In fact, in addition to what everyone has said, I have a special association because accepting me as a research scholar itself is a great task because I've seen instances where people rejected me. And Rekha ma'am herself took it as a challenge to, take me as a student, how I work because I have a visual impairment. So she actually, it's really emotional for me because she really helped me out and also find it out ways how I could, read books or, do up the thesis, and really fortunate and blessed because I have many friends from the visually impaired community who entered PhD and left it without proper support, proper guidance. So once again, thanks a lot, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pavitra. Now I'm moving on to the last part of the presentation, vote of thanks. I think I am the best person to say it, vote of thanks for this, not only for this felicitation volume. And okay, I'm always, when it comes to Rekha ma'am, I'm always thankful to her. So I feel that this is the right portions for me. So first of all, I would start with the word sorry, because we are not expecting that we are going to get interpret with regarding the presentations. So this what we are. We were, when we joined University of Hyderabad, we were all imperfect. We were all doing all mistakes. As usual, like what Rekha ma'am is present today, the same way she used to bear with us also. So we know for our mistakes, but ma'am, you always understand us, and also you never discourage us, and also you are always patient with us. And it is a great pleasure for me to be part of the lifetime event of a teacher, actually. So when we are talking, first of all, I would like to say thanks to even Professor Geraldine Popes ma'am. When we are thinking about what kind of a valedictory gift we can give to Professor Rekha Pande for her academic achievement, and when we discussed a lot of our friends, and even we discussed our teachers also, we know things, whatever the way what kind of gift we can give, because Rekha ma'am is okay financially, she's very rich. Whatever the kind of a gift, when we visit our house, we can see the entire world in our house. Okay, plenty of memento, plenty of gifts she used to carry. So none of the gift is going to how can I say, satisfy her contribution. Then we are, so what kind of a gift we can give? That's what's our Rizwan and me and some of other friends, even our teachers, we discussed, and then we were planning to bring out a kind of Felicitation volume. We thought that we are telling these things to Rekha ma'am. We thought that she will be very happy, and she said that go ahead. But that was not happened actually. These things happened in Annamalai University. I'm remembering that when she came for a South Indian History Congress, we proposed this idea. She outrightly said no. Okay, and we are completely disappointment, and she put only one point that this okay, any kind of a felicitation volume should not be like a kind of a geographical work. Then we gave we could persistently we can ask request Rekha ma'am, we will not do that kind of a work. Then finally with a lot of hesitation she said yes, okay, you can good do, but the thing is that she never involved in the entire process. Then actually, then the first our point is that we approach Professor Geraldine Popes for getting a paper. That is also after a long hesitations we are sending the request, because we know that her academic caliber and also her busy schedule, and we never expected a positive response from her actually. Within the mail, when I sent in the morning, then I received a mail in the evening that she is very positive and she is asking only one thing, that what is the deadline. So when we say the deadline, we gave 2 months deadline to her, but within 1 month, I think Professor Geraldine ma'am responded with the paper, and we are very happy. We got a lot of confidence, and we are jumping like anything. But the problem is that we can't express the things, because we have a lot of works to do. The same thing with the same way what Geraldine ma'am's done today also. In the 2 days before we come to we are planning to hold a book release function. Then we thought who is the best person. Then we are planning to approach Geraldine ma'am with a lot of hesitation, because we have a very short time. Again, Geraldine Popes ma'am with a kind her gesture, she's agreed. Since the Friday night, she used to consistently, I think for her it's a daytime, she consistently asking the draft one after another informations. Then it created a kind of a fear to me that if she is that much professional, so how we have to conduct the program. So how whatever, okay, she done which with all our mistakes she forgive, and she done can I say her role because of love of us, and also most importantly the way she respected Professor Rekha Pande. Thank you, Professor Geraldine ma'am. And also I would like to say, I can't say thanks to Rekha ma'am, because whatever we are here, okay, not only me, even for example the students who working with me, and also the students who are all working with others also, it's all ma'am, it started from Rekha ma'am. So our entire life is also, it's what we are here, it's because of Rekha ma'am actually. So there is no, that's why I'm telling you, this felicitation volume, it's a very small contribution from her side. Thank you, ma'am, actually. So, and apart from that, I would like to say a lot of thanks to the contributors, actually. Why I wanted to say thanks to contributors, this volume we planning to bring it for the retirement functions of Professor Rekha Pande, that was supposed to be 3 years back actually. Unfortunately, what happened, because of COVID, and more than that, whatever the lack of we are having, we expected some papers, but overwhelming paper actually, more than 40, 50, 45 papers we received, and it became kind of a meticulous. Once we finished the work, then the COVID, it was very serious. Then all the publication house, they closed, even they are not in approachable things also. In the initial stage, some of the publishers, they are willing to, international publishers, they are willing to publish the volume, but the problem is that COVID consistently, the second wave also hit. So that is another reason. But our contributors, they did not say any word to us, and also they are very friendly. And they then whenever we gave some kind of a reasons, they are accepting all the things. I would like to name the contributors: Professor Chenna Reddy sir, and Professor Dr. Mavarajan sir, and Dr. Lavanya ma'am, then Raj Muhammadanna, Harishna, Zwali Didi, Parul, Sankarshan Malik, Prabhu, Faridul, Anjana, then Bhaskar, then Manus, then Pabitra Molugu, Kishore, Rashmi ma'am, and all these people. Sorry if I'm missing some names. Okay, and see, I did not include Padma name, but Padma ma'am's name and others' name because we are bringing another volume also. So we wanted to reserve the things for her. And my special thanks to Joseph, a student of Professor Rekha Pande, because when we talking about, we wanted to publish a biography of Rekha ma'am. That is the only thing, that too we wanted to focus in academic way. So already we have a one better chance that Joseph, one of the senior most student of Rekha ma'am, and he already published a paper on Rekha ma'am. So we requested him to use the paper with his kind heart. He gave the paper without any kind of conditions. So we can use that one. Thank you, Mr. Joseph. And also the same way, okay, there is no word for Dr. M. N. Rajesh sir. See, today is a classical example. Whenever we plan to do some program, something in our life, we do some mistakes like that. We interrupt with some kind of a problem. So Rajesh sir will always be there, and he will provide the solution, and he will always be on the back of the backbone of us, and he always pushes front. So always be there. So sir may not be looking visible, but the point is that he is the responsible for everything. With regarding this volume also, we stuck somewhere else and we could not move forward, and we don't wanted to ask any help from Rekha ma'am because we thought that it is not good to ask any help from her. Then we asked, as usual, we go and stand in front of Rajesh sir. He only the person, without any hesitations, he helped us as usual. Today the program is also happening because of sir only. Okay. Then Rizwan is the he's a younger brother to me. This fellow was there in Hyderabad, and he done excellent work for these collections, 2 volume. Without him, it is not possible because I am not there in Hyderabad. So he personally put all the efforts to collecting all the articles. And also he is always asking Sana when we will bring the volume. So he is a kind of a person. Then I would like to say Prabhu. Prabhu is a friend of mine since my MPhil times. So he's always he's a good academician, and I always feel that he's better than me. Okay, so when I thought the work about this book, so I want Prabhu to be the part of this volume. So Prabhu helped a lot in this volume. Thank you, Prabhu. And also, without mentioning Suresh Pandey sir, it is not good to finish the volume. This my vote of thanks, because Suresh Pandey sir, like what Rajesh sir, he is not visible in front of us, but he is always a kind of inspiring personality for me and also many of Rekha ma'am students, because he is a kind of a person to always push, okay, a person to upward, okay. And still I'm remembering, okay, the advice of Suresh Pandey sir, and he's like a role model to me, okay, and many more persons, but I'm not following what Suresh sir is doing in his home, but still he is a role model to me. Okay, thank you, sir. And also I would like to say thanks to publisher, because they are not having any expectations from us when we propose about this book and the content of the book. They are ready to publish without any kind of a secondary thought. Thanks a lot to the literary circle, Mr. Sapan, for publishing this volume. And also I would like to say thanks to my research scholars, especially Anjana, Bhaskar, Faridul, and Nawaz, because see, I can tell you now what Rekha ma'am. So I'm not so kind to my students like what Rekha ma'am was with us, but still they are all helping to me. And whatever the growth of mine is there, it is without. They are also part of my growth. Okay, thank you all of the 4, and also my students who are all present today. So thanks a lot for everyone who are all be present in these functions. Again, I'm telling you, thank you, ma'am, for everything. It's not because I'm saying as a person, as a Jeevanandam, the entire students who are all representing, who are all present here. And one more thing, those who are not contributing this volume also, I'm approaching many of our students. They are very much willing to contribute, but unfortunately, I know how much it is difficult because they recently joined in a jobs and they have a different financial commitment and other things. They tried their level best, but they could not contribute. But still, I'm telling you that their approach also, it's a very I'm very thankful to from all of the students of Rekha ma'am, and also Rajesh sir, I'm sincerely thank you, ma'am. Thanks a lot. Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks. Wonderful. Really very wonderful. Beautiful. Okay. See you all. Great. Nice to see all students. It's been, we've really
Thank you
taken
so
so
much.
much time. We thought we'll finish in 1 hour, 1.5 hours. It's really late now. All of you can.
Ma'am, I will tell you, ma'am, the second volume, which is on gender, we will make it much more professional than this, ma'am, actually. This is we are not
On behalf
expecting
of president, ma'am, please.
this
It's
this
not in
problem.
your
I'm
hand.
Sir,
reserving.
Rajesh sir, thank you, sir. Thanks a lot, sir.
Okay. See you.
I just wanted to add on. I'm reserving whatever my emotions and things like that for the second volume, so I'm not able to speak anything today. But thank you, ma'am. It's really wonderful for having been with us throughout.
Okay. See
Thank you,
you.
ma'am.
Bye.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very
Bye-bye. Bye,
Thank you, madam.
Jagdish.
Thank you very much.
Bye. Bye. See you all. Good night. Yeah.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Good night.
Bye. Good night. Bye.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.